All right, boys and girls, welcome back to another wonderful episode of Mecha Madness Monday. Let's start off with how it ended. The entire C3 Company command lance was gunned down and burned. Yakuma got it first, followed by the Naginata, and then by one of the other mechs. Giving Mr. Chance the Atlas, giving Mr. Chance the last chancers, Hovercraft was a devastating mistake. The Hovercraft, the Condors, are quick. But let's start off with deployment. You see the missile trucks, you see the green C3 Lance with the Panther, the Spider, and the Dragons. Flanked on the other side by 3 Dragons, Panther, and a Roof. Looking down the street, we are geared for war. The Fire Lance with the Dragon, the Blackjack, Wolverine, and the Orion versus a whole bunch of hurt. The 4 Condor tanks that you can see, the 4 you can't see, and then it just gets more aggressive in the first turn motions. Because Mr. Chance is advancing up the river using cover and his normal TMM at long range. I didn't know what I was getting into, and I want to pay for it miserably and constantly. The other thing to consider that you're looking at is one flank. Turn 1 was brutal. The hovercraft flew across the table. Left flank was quickly pushed upon with sprints from the entire enemy team, taking up defensive positions, breaking line of sight. Venom went up close to try to get Tone on a hovercraft with C3 and break everything in process. It just wasn't going to happen. The enemy forces were too far, too fast, too scattered, and circling every formation. We could not get Tone. Dice were terrible at best. Everyone was getting popped. The devil in the details is that C3 versus hovercraft was ineffective, especially when hovercraft are doing 8 inches a turn. The main enemy lance coming up the river had cover and their TMM modifier gunning us down. At the end of the turn, the Mauler was buried. We got lucky and managed to sandwich the champion and a couple of other mechs with the Akuma and Naginata. It was not enough to turn the tide quickly enough, especially with the onslaught of more hovercraft coming around the flank. As you look into it, this just was a bad deal. Either way, Shadowhawk came for the Grand Dragon, 2 hovercraft went on that flank. Coming back to the right, the Panther and the Atlas were trying to maintain shots at range and pound the Orion. We just couldn't hit. There was a lot of other interference, especially with the Spider. Even though it made it across the map, it was no chance it was going to take care of what had happened. The hovercraft that is parked in the middle of the field lost all movement due to a lucky hit. But at the end of the turn, we got lucky and managed to drop the last remaining Shadowhawk, but it just wasn't enough. Condors, even a 30-25 variant, we have 8 of them in skill 3, murder everything they look at. They even got the Panther. It was just brutal. We lost the Dragon, lost the Panther, and we're losing more mechs as the battles continue. There's nothing left when you look at combined arms that are played effectively. The enemy Grand Dragon came out swinging, and it was a monster to look at. The Atlas got popped in the rear, fell apart, and then everything just started to fall apart as the mission continued. Naginata was down, Mauler was down, Akuma was down, Dragons were down. There was nothing left, and this was a game called. Thanks for watching, sports fans. Stay tuned for the next one.